This is the only thing that'll get me out of bed at 5 a.m. Let's make some pulled pork.
What is going on, guys? It's Derek with Dad with the Pan, and today's recipe is going to be smoked pulled pork. Typically when you're making pulled pork, you're either going to use a pork shoulder or a Boston butt. I believe a pork shoulder usually has a little bit more of the top, but it's going to be all the same. So I'm trimming off about 1/4 inch of fat off that fat cap. You can trim off as much or as little as you like, and honestly it doesn't really matter on pork because there's so much fat throughout the meat, you're not really risking drying anything out. Plus I'm smoking this on a pellet grill, so using the fat cap to protect the meat from drying out doesn't really apply. When trimming, you want to make sure that you're cutting away from you, taking a small cut into the fat, then use your free hand to hold up the flat and then pull as you cut away from your body. Repeat this till you have it trimmed down to your liking. I'm also trimming off any little pieces of meat that don't look like they're going to make it through the cook. You just want to make this as aerodynamic as possible. Anything that is dangling is just going to burn. And when it comes to trimming meat, the type of knife that you use is very important. Today we're using a 6-inch curved boning knife that I picked up off of Amazon. Brand doesn't really matter. I picked up just a cheap $10 one off of Amazon. I've had it for a few years now. As long as you keep it sharp, it doesn't fail. I'll go ahead and leave a link down below in the description if you're interested. And now let's talk about the rub. And don't throw out your old containers because you can use them for rub shakers. I usually keep these on hand because then I can take all my ingredients for my rub, put them in here, put the lid on, shake it on my meat, and then I have a rub shaker without having to go buy one from the store. So this is a Texas-style pepper-based rub that I'm using. I'm basing it off of Aaron Franklin's recipe that is amazing. We're going to start by using 1 part kosher salt to 1 part coarse ground black pepper, half part granulated garlic, equal part granulated onion, half part paprika, quarter part cayenne pepper. Optionally, you can put a little celery salt in this as well. I decided not to at the last minute, but it's totally up to you. Go ahead and shake this up and you're ready to rub it on your pork shoulder. Lather up your pork shoulder with yellow mustard. You can use Worcestershire or whatever you want. I've honestly never noticed the binder, so it doesn't really matter what you use. Just make sure you have your whole pork shoulder coated with that mustard so all of the rub sticks. Then start coating the pork with a decent amount of your rub. You want your pork coated to where you don't see any more of the meat. This is going to be the foundation of your bark, so as much as you can get to stick to your pork, the better. Now I'm bringing this pork shoulder off to the smoker. I've got my pellet grill preheated to about 235. You can go as little as 220 or as high as 325. It really just matters on how long you want to wait for your pulled pork to be done. Now after about 2 hours, I am going to spritz this with apple juice. I like to do this after the 2-hour mark and then every 45 minutes after that to keep this moist. It'll also take on the sugar from the apple juice to sweeten up the bark. Now when it comes to smoking meat, I highly suggest cooking the feel over the temperature, meaning you always want your meat to probe tender. It should feel like a warm stick of butter. But if you're looking for a temperature to shoot for, anywhere from 195 up to 210 usually will get you there. Okay, so now that we've got this off the smoker, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this in pink butcher paper. Let it rest for about an hour just to let those muscles relax, let it come down to temp and reabsorb any juices. You can also wrap this in a couple towels and store in a cooler, and it should stay at the temp for about 4 hours, sometimes longer. A good rule of thumb with your pulled pork is to be able to pull out that bone with little to no resistance and no meat sticking on. And if you've done your job right, you should be able to just pull this apart with your hands.
So good. You get a little bit of the sweet from the apple juice spray. You get just a bit of the heat from the cayenne pepper and the black pepper. You can't go wrong with this recipe. This is a good recipe to do for your pulled pork sandwiches. I'm going to show you how to do some leftovers with these. We're going to make some nachos.
So for the nachos, we're just going to put some chips in a pan. I'm going to top it with a Mexican style blend of cheeses, Monterey Jack, and cheddar. Then we're going to add some cooked black beans that have been drained and rinsed. Top it off with a healthy portion of that pulled pork. And then we're going to put it back on the pellet grill at about 375 for 15 minutes or until the cheese is fully melted. Once that's done, just top off with some pico de gallo. Some jalapenos, and any of your other favorite toppings, and you're ready to eat.
It's nachos and it's pulled pork. What can I say? It doesn't get any better than this for leftovers or even the night of. All right, guys, that's all for this week. If you like what you see, please comment, subscribe. I'm going to be posting content every week, so make sure you hit that bell for notifications, and I will see you next week.
I'm talking to the camera.